Hello, for this week's pre-recorded video, we're going to do a card using some gold gilded leafing in order to add some gold accents to our card. Welcome, I'm Donna Goodwin. I'm the owner of Winged Horse Designs, and I'm located in Brookings, South Dakota. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, so all the products I'm using are from Stampin' Up! But I thought it would be fun to take some of the gilded leafing, the gold leafing, and add some accents to a card just to give it a little bit of that pizzazz. So I'm going to push this up here in the corner. You won't need to write the measurements down because they are in the description. I'm using Pretty Peacock for my card base today. It measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, scored at 4.25. So I'll give that a good crease with my bone folder and set it aside. I'm using Melon Mambo for my mat that measures 4 inches by 5.25 inches. I'm going to go ahead and use Very Vanilla just because I want a little bit of a soft color. 4 inches by 5.25 inches for the inside and 3.25 inches by 4.5 inches for the front. And then a few scrap pieces to create our elements on the front. So I took some bubble bath, leftover bubble bath, and I cut out this piece that we're going to use on this face. This happens to be white, but it really doesn't matter that I've cut out that we're going to add the gold leafing to on that one. And then for our little fan style leaf, this is Lost Lagoon. The stamp set that I chose to use today is Earthen Textures. It's one of the new stamp sets located on page 70 of the annual catalog. It has these fun bases and these different type of leafy stem patterns and some wonderful sentiments. And it also comes with some dies where you can die cut these pieces out. So you can cut out the two vases, which I've already done, and this fan, which I've already done. And then you have a piece where you can add some detail to your vases if you want. This can be a topper to a vase, or I thought if you turned it upside down, you could turn it into like a dish and stamp some succulents for it. You have a leafy fern here, some stems here, and then these pieces cut out, these 3 pieces here. But you also have another piece that we're going to use today. That's kind of hard to see in camera. There we go. That doesn't cut anything out, but it adds embossing and texture to it. So this is the set that I've chose to use today. I'm going to set those aside. I'm going to start with this part. I've already done part of it, but it has some embossed lines here that you can use to fold these over and give it a 3-dimensional type of look. So I'm just going to fold those over. I'm going to use my bone folder for a little bit of help. And we can give this a little bit more texture and a little more pop on our card. And then we'll get to the fun part. We'll get to the gold leafing. I have to build that anticipation, right? To get you there. And so you don't even need the bone folder. You can just simply press it a little bit on those folds with your fingers. And then you get more of a 3D look on your fan. So I'm going to set that aside. But I wanted to add texture to my bubble bath little vase. So I'm going to bring in that embossing piece and I'm going to lay it across this way on it. And I'm going to bring in my die cutting and embossing machine. I'm going to use the little one today. And so that light gray there really makes it go bright up there in that top corner, and I apologize for that. But I'm just going to line this up on my vase, and I'm going to add some texture going right down the middle of that vase. And this machine squeaks. So I know you're used to seeing me showing my face before, at the beginning, and at the end, but today we're just going to use the desktop view. So now that I have that texture there, I want to add some gold gilding to this. And there's a couple different ways you can do it. You can use heat and stick powder, which you put on with Versamark, and you do it just like you would with an embossing powder. You just only want to heat it enough to turn it soft and liquid, so turn it into glue, and then add whatever you're adding to it, whether it be glitter or gold leafing. You can use something like tear-in tape or adhesive strips and add your leafing that way, or you can just simply take liquid glue. Today I'm going to use liquid glue. Now, when it comes in a jar, and it comes in packed in pretty tight. And you're going to want to put it in something much larger to hold it. And you also want to, if you have any ceiling fans or other fans going in your room, you want to turn those off first. This is very light, and it just explodes and goes everywhere if you're not careful. So I'm just going to take this. I'm going to bring in a piece of scrap paper just in case I need it, in case glue goes everywhere. And I'm going to use the fat end this time, or I guess I should say the wide end. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the edge, and I'm going to smear it on the top and bottom edge of this pink piece. And it doesn't matter how thick or loose it is. Some of these bigger globs of glue will actually add to some of that texture. I love cards that have texture. Kind of curious to see if you do too. So you see that there's some texture. Oh, I want some a little bit closer up in here. I didn't get as much as I wanted up in there. And then I'm going to take this and I'm going to set it face down inside this gold leafing. And I want to lift this up carefully, because this stuff will go everywhere. Now, I have quite a bit left in here, and I have been using this for a couple years now, so it really lasts a really long time and goes a long way. So I just set it down. You can see I have this nice mess of gold here. Let's see if we turn off a little bit of light, if that helps. I think that might help a bit. And then I like to just take a makeup sponge and just rub off the excess. I'm not rubbing real hard, but I'm not being real gentle either. And after I get the bulk of it off, then I can rub a little bit harder if I need to. And that gives me some gold accents on the top and bottom of my vase. I'll set that one aside. Now this one, I actually want gold all over. I can do it with the glue, or I can do it with the heat and stick powder, because I don't want to deal with the noise of the heat tool. And you have to also be extremely careful when you're using heat stick powder not to overheat it, which will dry it out, and then you won't have that sticking powder. So you notice I'm being very generous with this glue. And because it's not on totally smooth, you're going to get a certain amount of texture. There's a couple different ways you can do this. You can take larger pieces when you first get it out of the jar. It comes in these really long strips, and you can lay these strips down and just keep laying it on. Or you can just set it face down inside your gold leafing and just pick it up that way. And you have what looks like a complete mess. As you can see, it's got a lot of static to it. It clings to everything. And then we're just going to rub off the excess again. So you can see that all these tiny little pieces are still They still work really, really well. And I'm just gently doing this. I'm not even rubbing very hard. And so down here where I added the foil and strips, you see it's kind of smooth, and up here it's kind of rough. Now I can, and you can get as rough or as gentle as you want, and just know that the harder you rub, the more that comes off. So I'm rubbing just a bit harder right now. And I'll set that one aside. Get as much of this gold leafing off the sponge as I can. And very carefully, so that I don't cause it to fly, I'm just going to put the lid back on and snap it closed. And even though I have some cardstock showing through, depends on whether you use white or vanilla, whatever, it really doesn't matter. I'm after the texture of this on this one. So let's go ahead and do our stamping, and then we can start putting our card together. So there is our gold accents that we're going to use for this. And then a little bit later, there's actually, you can't see it in camera, I don't think very well here, but I actually have some, it shows up just barely. I used a Wink of Stella glitter pen there. So the front piece, I'm going to use these masks that I created with Post-it notes. And these are the super Post-it notes, so they're sticky all over. Or you could use masking tape. I'm just going to use these to help me line up where I'm going to set these vases, so I know where I want to stamp my images behind it. You don't need the foam mat on this. This is a rubber stamp. It's just here and convenient and has some grid paper. So I'm going to stamp my one piece, these that are a little bit more stemmy, in copper clay. I love copper. Copper is one of my favorite colors, even before we had copper clay. So I'm just going to stamp some of these on here just to give me some background. And then while I have the copper out, I'm going to put a vase on the inside. So I'm going to bring in the big piece and the tall vase. And I'm going to stamp off with this one and stamp my vase over here on the left side. I'm going to borrow this mask here real quick. So I can put my stem on the inside. I'm going to come in with Lost Lagoon now. And this more feathery type of stem. It's not really feathery. How do I want to? It's looser. It just has a little more to it. So I'm just going to add this one in here. And there's our inside piece for our thank you card. And then I'll come back and bring this back in where I had it. And we'll add a bit of green in here. And a lot of this green we really don't see. It just kind of adds a bit more to the card. And then I want to stamp thank you in Lost Lagoon. Thank you is one long stamp, and I want it to be thank and you below it because I don't have quite a bit of space left here. So I'm just going to carefully ink up the word thank. And while I still have these vase masks here, it kind of lets me know where that vase is going to be later. Then I'm going to clean it. And I thought I had some baby wipes handy, but apparently not. Any type of a little wet cloth would work. Baby wipes work really well. I'm just going to clean the word thank. Stamp it on the grid paper, dry it off a bit. Then I'm going to ink up the word you. And stamp that underneath the word thank. I can do this without getting my head in the camera. And so I'm done with my stamping, and we can start putting this all together now. I just like to share different ideas with you whenever I can. So this month I've been kind of focusing on techniques. And then next month I'll probably go back to fun folds. So I'm going to start by putting my pink mat down. And I'm going to switch back to my thin point. So if you like what you're seeing and you're enjoying this, get my mouse to work here, please do like, comment, and share. I like reading everyone's comments. And then I'm going to glue this one flat down inside that one. And if you would like any of these products that you see me showing when I do my videos and my lives, and you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and you live in the United States, I'd love to be your demonstrator. And you'll find those links in the description. Okay, so I'm going to use a dimensional to glue this one down. And I'm just going to put it right here in the center of this fan type of fern. And I know my vase is going to be right in here, so I'm just going to kind of put it at a little angle. But this is going to stick out where I don't want it. So now I can just trim it off, throw that piece away. And then we can come in Monday on a Crafters Collaboration. A friend and I do those on Facebook. I showed how you can take the bone folder and fold this, but you can also do it with your fingers like I just did. So I'm going to give it that same beveled look that I did on that card. And I'm just going to put my dimensionals down the inside so that this can bevel around a little bit. I'm being a little bit careful because I can still feel some dampness of the glue underneath the gold leafing, and I don't want it to stick too much to my fingers and come off. So I'm just going to put this, I'm going to treat the bottom edge of this vanilla as though it were the shelf that it's sitting on. And then I'm going to do the same thing with this piece. I'm just going to kind of bend the sides a little bit with my fingers just to give it a little bit more of a curve like a real vase would be. And then we'll go ahead and put our inside in, and then we have one more little step left to add a little bit more shimmer and shine to our card. So there's a lot of texture here on this one just by using the glue and not allowing it to be totally smooth. And I'm going to finish it off with just a little bit of Wink Stella. And it's just a gold glitter brush, and I'm just going to brush real lightly along the folds of this fan. And while you won't be able to see it too much on camera, in real life it'll have just a hint of shine along the ridges of this fan. And then there's some little score lines here in the inside, and I'm just going to add a little bit there as well. And there you have a super fast and easy card using the gold leafing. You don't need to use a lot of gold leafing, but it just adds some nice little accents to it. And I thought it would be fun to work with gold leafing. I haven't done anything with gold leafing in a long time. I think we tend to think of it only as a holiday card, but I thought it would be fun to do some gold leafing just because we can. I hope you enjoyed this recorded video. Please do join me Monday. I will be live 10 a.m. Central Time. Even though it's Memorial Day, I am going to go live on Monday. So if you happen to be home in the morning and you would like to catch me live, I would love to see you there. Otherwise, have a wonderful Memorial Day weekend if you're in the United States. And if you're anywhere else in the world, just have a wonderful weekend. Happy trails, everyone. Bye-bye.